Hi, this is Rodrigo from Frame Freak Studio, and this is the Creative Hustler Show. Today, our guest is Katia Grifols. She's the founder of Glow in the Dark Concept Studio. She also has worked with her friends at the Studio CMA on the Golden Apple, and she is an amazing visual developer. So, welcome, Katia.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, first of all, for the people who don't know about you and your work, can you tell us a little bit about your history? Is art something that you were doing since you were a kid, or was something that you took on later before?
So, yeah, well, I was a very artsy kid. I always draw and I always like reading. So, since like an early age was kind of obvious, maybe only for me, not for my parents, but that I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to like write my own stories. So when I became a teenager, I'm from Spain. We don't really have a lot of opportunities in Spain besides comic books. So that seemed to be the route for me. It was a little bit hard to convince my whole family that I wanted to do art because it like just being like a comic book artist is not like a very stable career nowadays. So I ended like getting my way and I went to a comic book school for like 4 years. And then eventually, like, I published like a comic with like a company in France called Soleil, which is one of the big ones. And that was really great. And I did screenwrite and color for like a comic I co-created. It's called I Love Tokyo. So it was been like time ago. And then like crisis hit Europe, and then comics like fall down. And then I consider like doing something else with just comic books, and I love like telling stories. So I just came to the States, to the Art Center. I did like my 4 years degree in entertainment arts. And then I did like a little bit of an internship at DreamWorks as a character designer. And then after that, I graduated. I worked a little bit for Disney consumer products. That was really fun. But then I always really liked the whole like telling my own stories, and I always thought I could do more than just one job. So I decided to create like Glow in the Dark so I could like, work on my own projects, bring people in, and then shop them around, hopefully for like good, successful, happy ending. And I also take like every other freelance, which makes my day job more versatile than just like doing the same job all the time. That's kind of a little bit, yeah.
Awesome. And pretty much, how was the problem that you find when the economy went down? Because usually this is a topic that I have very present. Like when crisis come, like the first thing to go is entertainment.
Yes, I know it sounds funny, right? It doesn't make sense to me, but it is.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody is more focused on things that actually can help you live, and entertainment is not one of them. So
Yeah.
how did you navigate through all that period?
Well, that was like a hard hit for me because when we signed the contract for the French publisher, that was the publisher where I really wanted to be, right? And it was like really like glowing at that time. It was coming with like a lot of like really great new properties. I was very young at the time too, and I really had a lot of hopes and dreams. And one day they just like canceled our contract. It was for 3 years, and we just only happened to do one comic, and that was really unfortunate. They were really sad. We were really sad as well. And then I thought like, well, comics have like a low pay, and I already have like 2 other jobs. If you take out that, then that means I'm gonna have 4 jobs, and hopefully I can do comics at night in between, sleeping and eating. And I really wanted something else for me. I wanted to work as an artist. I didn't want to work as something else. And it was a hard decision to just leave everything you have and just move to another country, hoping for like a better opportunity. And at the time, I really wanted to work in a bigger studio because that seems what was like a stable situation. And after having that big breakdown, I just wanted to stay like something stable for myself. So yeah, that was interesting.
Nice. Also, how did you make the jump of going into comics into visual development?
Mm-hmm.
How was
Um,
like the process of the decision?
well, that was not, unfortunately, that was never like a decision. I didn't know. I just thought like I wanted to make movies, and I had no idea how movies were made. My English was really poor at the time too, so I could read stuff online. But when I came, it was like 6 years ago. There was like not that many things online yet. Instagram was not a thing. A lot of blogs were kind of like here and there some information, but not really. So I ended like deciding to contact people that were from Spain, just go on their blogs and send them emails being like, hey, I really want to make a move to the States, but I don't know anything about it. Can you give me some information? And there's a lot of really nice people out there. You actually like write them and they amazingly reply, even if they are super busy. So I made some friends that were like actually here working on like, maybe like at Disney and at DreamWorks and so on. And they were like, well, I'm an animator. I don't do art, but I can ask around. And everybody kind of asked around. And I eventually figured out there was like two big schools. One was CalArts and the other was Art Center. So I came here for 3 months to check the schools and every other school I could. And then on the process, I learned that what VisDev was and the different like scales of VisDev. There's not like a whole, you don't do everything. You either do characters or backgrounds or props. They didn't know that either. And a lot of those things I honestly learned it going through the career as well. Like they teach me in school.
Awesome. And pretty much, how did you felt this change of culture when you jumped to the United States? I felt it the same way when I jumped to Europe to try to live there
Right.
for a while. But unfortunately for me, like I had a lot of fears, and they were all false. None of those fears ever materialized ever. And the upside of moving there for me and this was amazing. Uh, did you went through something like that as well, like with the fears and all that?
Yeah, I actually, it was funny. Like I'm not like a person that have a lot of like fears, but sometimes I just get like very self-confident, and that was my problem too. I was like, well, I kind of know English, that will be okay. And no, I was in an art degree, everything was in English, and I was like really behind. And I realized having conversational English have nothing to do with writing essays for college. That was a big struggle. Then I'm from Spain, and I'm used to many things that I just discovered living in the States that I didn't know. I'm used to my 2 hours long coffee and going out on the weekends. And, I like to draw, but not all the time. I like to live my life. And when I came here, like I went to Art Center boot camp and all of that was gone. And all I did was working and like staying awake every night and just working until like really late hours. And I was just not used to that. So my first years were actually like pretty miserable. Like I just got to adapt to all this like really hardcore work time. And sometimes I explain to people and they're like, no, you're making things up. I'm like, no, I really slept under the table in the dining room of the school like many times, and in the couch, and in the like, because we didn't have like dormitories. So we just have to stay there wherever, or like sleep in the car and, bring like massive assignments in a really short deadline. But all of that like really trained me to put me where I'm at now. So it was, pain is good.
Yeah, definitely after going through all that, like, it's really easy after that to navigate through the good times, and when the hard time comes, it's like you're more confident to face them because
Yeah.
I cannot be as bad as that one."
Yeah, it's not gonna. Every time I have a challenge, I'm like, yeah, but that's not as hard as the Art Center.
Actually, I do feel your pain about the language because the first country that I moved in was in Sweden,
Oh,
and I didn't
wow.
speak Swedish. Then to Poland, and I don't speak Polish. Then to Bulgaria, and like at least in Sweden and in Poland, I could read the letters because it's like
Yeah.
the Roman alphabet. But then in Bulgaria, they have the Cyrillic alphabet, and and there was this moment where I was riding with a friend in the first day, and he asked me like, what does he say in that, like in an automatic moment, like he was driving, and then like, oh yeah, like, and it was snowing as well, what does it say in that the sign, and I was trying to read like the name of the street, and then I
Mhm.
realized like, hey man, I just forgot that I cannot read Cyrillics, and I couldn't understand a thing.
Any-
And when I jumped to London for 1 week after 6 months of going through all these countries, it felt so good to finally understand something again.
I bet, yeah, like that's something you didn't really think about it. Like actually, like before going to, like considering coming to the States, I wanted to move to Japan because I'm a big anime fan. I love comic books, like Japanese like stuff. It's just, oh, I love it. So I did like 6 years of Japanese. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to go to college over there. And I moved 3 months to do the test for the university, and then I realized how little I know about Japanese and how like lost I was with not being able to read anything. So I can totally relate to that experience. So moving to the States, I thought like, oh, this is gonna be easier. Like I talk English, I can read. And no, that was not easier.
Definitely. Also, I see in your portfolio that you have a lot of projects, and one specifically called my attention because mm, I have a big bias on that, which is like the work that you done with Studio CMA and the Golden Apple. Since
Mhm.
I met those guys, and I really want that project to come to life. Can you tell
Right?
us a little bit more about the experience?
Yeah, no, that was really fun. I remember when they contacted me, they were like, "Oh, we really like your colors. We're like doing the trailer. Can you do some color keys?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I don't know. It was kind of like fast, and we just throw like some color keys. I give them like options, and they wanted to be like colorful, and it was like this world of like mythology that they got like hooked immediately. So I felt it for me, it was very like easy and smooth and inspiring to just be able to look color like a whole sequence. And now when I see the trailer, I'm like, oh, I can see like my little contribution on it. So it's kind of really fun. And yeah, I really like this project. I really hope the best for them too.
And did you work with them directly in Bulgaria, or did you work online? Like,
Oh,
for example, our studio, many people come to our fan page and it's like, hey, where do you have your studio? Like, I would like to visit you. And it's like, we don't have a studio. Like, we all work online.
yeah.
Was something similar?
Yeah, yeah, it was online. It was all online. We'll do like Skypes at night. It was like a lot of like different hours from here. And then we had like one of those shared, I don't remember which one they use. It's not Slack, it's a Trello. So, you just like drop the folders and then everybody can review and you can see what everybody's doing and then you can add notes. And that was kind of like organized. I had to learn the server in the beginning that like was a little bit like, oi, but eventually I figured it out and it was cool. I never knew you could do such a big things online.
Nice. And I see that you have your own office over there. Can you tell us a little bit about the pros and cons that you have felt from working online versus the physical?
Right. Yeah. So before, like, it's funny that you mentioned before having an office, I work as a freelancer at home, and I just find out that it was just becoming like a home troll, right? Like I will never leave the house. I always be in pajamas or like in underwear, which is even worse. Like I will never like you're not gonna see everybody. So I start like not taking care of myself, but also like not seeing friends or not like doing anything around. So I kind of decided I really like the studio vibe and I was missing the people. So I was like I did a lot of research and I did a lot of maybe like renting like an office in a bigger building or all of that, but I eventually found it like a co-working space, and that happened to be the best solution for me because I have my private time, right? And like you do your work, but also like you have like people like knocking at the door once in a while and you feel like you're not alone in the world, which is great.
Yeah, I think definitely something that we discover is like uh, people work differently,
Hmm.
and sometimes they don't know how they work better.
Right.
So I have friends who pretty much complain about the office for years
Right.
complaining about, I don't like the office, I would like to work from home and things like that. And when they work from home, they realize like they are not made for that at all,
Yeah.
and that they are barely doing something. And there are other cases, like I think I'm in the stream because I do work well from home. I have tried co-working spaces and I didn't like it. And I like when I work, I like the privacy and things like that. But I think there are also many people like you who are in the in between, like not office, but also not
Right.
completely alone.
I mean, I don't know. I'm very Spanish on that. I need my coffee time with people, not by myself. I like to eat with people, and I like to see people once in a while and gossip, even if it's stuff I don't know what is what we're talking about. But I really like that.
Awesome. And you are a finalist right now in a pitch contest in Miami, right?
Yeah, we're very excited. We've just been told those news like, I don't know, like a couple of days ago. It's very exciting.
And obviously, I know that there are many aspects that you cannot tell about the project, but
Mhm.
in the aspects that you can actually tell, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Well, yeah, this is a project like we started in the studio. It was like a year ago. And we just develop it like internally, a project that it's based on like stuff I really like. I mean, project is called Screaming, so you can imagine it's like something scary, something like goosebumps around, which is like my favorite thing in the world because I love like horror movies and Halloween and all of that. So I try to put a little bit of that, and it's been hard to pull out like a project aside on like actually doing like your daily job. So it's been a lot of like working weekends and coming home really late, and yeah, it's for me for the better, but sometimes like I just want a weekend off, please. But it obviously pay off because we finally decided to submit it, and we're on the finals. We're like really hyped about it. So like if you are really hard, it comes across, I think.
Definitely. Also, uh, starting with the questions, what was something that you didn't expect at all from your career
Hmm.
that actually became true and is really important in what you do?
Right. So that's gonna be like a funny question because I always love comics. I never really wanted to be a comic book artist. I know I wanted to draw and write. Comics seemed just to be like the answer for it. And when you know, when I quit Spain, not quit Spain, well, when I left Spain, I came to the States. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do comics anymore. I just want to do movies. And I never realized how similar they are and how much I learned on my previous degree and how much I'm applying it now to the current job. And I refused to work in comics because it was really lonely. It's very sacrificing. It's a lot of changes. It's very committed, right? It was a little bit of a frustrating process for me too because I don't like to do the same thing over and over, but I did it. So I was like, I'm not doing comics anymore, no. And then after coming here, like deciding I wanted to work in bigger studios, and then finishing Art Center, having my experience on like bigger studios that I never dreamed I could work for, I realized that was just not for me. And I'm like, okay, then what is for me? Like, what is it? Like, am I being spoiled now? What is it? And I started like to tell like a little bit like of my life that year in a comic, just for myself, just to start like finding myself and what I wanted to do. And then I went back to Spain because my visa expired, and then that comic was sold to a publisher. So out of the blue too, they were like, oh, we're interested, we're buying, so it's coming out in November. And then that gave me the energy to be like, I think I can sell stories, I think I can do it, I think that can be my job and I can make it work. And it's going to be really hard, but I think I can do it. And then that's what made me spark glow in the dark. So actually, it's funny that I promised never to do comics, and now I just kind of do that for a living.
Nice. On the other hand, what was something that you completely expected from your career that became true and is actually important?
Um, See, that's something I learned too. Like, my problem has always been discipline. I like when things are fun. I like to be very creative, but I used to not be very disciplined, right? And when I came to the art center, it's everything is about discipline and everything is about like presentation. And I was like, well, we're forgetting the creative part. We're forgetting, and I just got really frustrated at the time. But it's been that discipline and it's been that like focus that like it's keeping me on track now when I do what I want, and that just became like strongly part of who I am. And I think it changed me a lot for good, but it's also something in the beginning I was just not ready for it, and I just had to, it just attacked me and I lose that battle, and now I embrace it, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm misdisciplined now.
And on that topic, uh, this is a trend that goes into a lot of artists that I know, that obviously they focus on becoming a really good artist, and that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort.
Right.
But as you go i- into wanting to become a professional into the arts,
Mm-hmm.
then people discover that they need business skills, and business skills
Yeah.
actually takes also a lot of time and a lot of effort
Yep,
to
yep,
learn.
yep. And they're hard for artists, yeah.
So how was your process now that you have your own studio? How was the process for you to learn all these business skills in order to pretty much keep working?
Right. That's been very painful. And I made a lot of mistakes. And in the beginning, I refused. I refused to go to conventions. I refused to sell my art. I refused to talk about it to people because this is not the reason why I make art. I used to make art because I really like it. Now I like it, but I'm okay showing it to people. And I had to learn that. Um, so I don't know. I just was like, okay, well, I gotta do that now. And I'm not good at social network, but that's not an excuse to not make it work, and that's not an excuse to not to learn about it. And yeah, I'd rather be alone by myself eating popcorn, but that's not gonna bring me anywhere. And just pretending to be discovered one day, now that everybody's discovering themselves, doesn't make any sense either. So I really had to make a huge sacrifice and commitment with myself, and then tell me every day that I just had to do that, and I had to learn how to be a professional, because otherwise nobody will take me as one.
Definitely. I think this thing as business, as many people put it, like many people just think that it's like, oh, you just register a business and try to sell stuff, but
Yeah, but no.
actually it has so many hardships in it. That is one of the experiences that if you don't take it as a personal development kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
it is.
is going to be really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, like reading a lot online really helped me. Watching some videos and even stuff that I consider like really boring, like other business that I don't know, just trying to find the appeal on it and trying to find like the value on what they're doing, not just thinking out of the blue, I'm not interested, this is not what I need. Just make an effort on that. Like really, really helped me.
And also on the other topic of the networking and meeting other artists and pretty much putting your work into the world, I see that in the art community there is a lot of introvert people, a lot of shy people who, as you say, like they just don't want to go and put themselves out. Uh,
Right.
how do you deal with that in order to overcome that? Because like when you're like that, is it's like your first instinct not to do all of that. So how
Right,
do you overcome
exactly.
that?
So for me, maybe it's been a strange process for me, but when I came to the States, like my first year, I was very lonely because again, like the language didn't really help. And I didn't really understood the whole, like, I want to be your friend because you draw really well. But at some point I just wanted to have friends. Like I just wanted to talk to people. I just wanted to be able, and I'm like, okay, if we have to talk about art, then we'll talk about art. Whatever you want, just talk to me. And then I started to attend more like social events, more like networking events, and just being out of the house was like a really big relief. And I always try to approach people as a friend, not, I mean, I'm also really bad at knowing who did what, and I'm really awful at names, and I think that's been a blessing. for me, because I don't really have any expectations. I'm never like, oh, this person is so important. Like, I don't know. I don't care. Like, you're nice, I'll talk to you. You're not, then maybe not. And that like always really work on my side. And I like that. I like to talk to people because I think they're nice. And then if they happen to be great artists, great. But if not, then it's also worth it to spend time with nice people.
Yeah, that is something that I definitely found out over there in Europe, that in my country at least there is, because it's a very small country, there is this taboo that you have to look always ultra nice, like the $1,000 suits and things,
Yeah.
kind of that level. And when I was in Europe, I was like in entrepreneurship events, and then pretty much talking to people, getting along with them, and then I realized that some of them were like real millionaires and
Yeah.
multimillionaires, and they never say any like. I had absolutely no problem of because of how I was dressing,
Hmm.
and back in my country that is such a huge deal that, oh,
Right.
you need to look like impeccable, and it's like then you meet millionaires who pretty much dress even worse than you.
Yeah.
And they are like the coolest people to hang around. And actually have there was only one person who I had kind of a problem with, and was from the same region from where I come from. So it was like, oh, okay,
Oh.
that's why. Anyways, also, uh, when you see people wanting to start into this path that is called being an art professional, an artist, or a creative professional, what is the most common mistake that you see them making, that they are not realizing that they are making that?
Oh, I have very strong opinions on this. Are you ready?
Hell yes.
So I think the common mistake everybody does is first, like I think Instagram and Tumblr, as much as they're helping the art community, is damaging it, because I like people store like stop like having a filter of like what is good art and what is bad. Like it just all blend together. You can see, so you're exposed to so many things and you don't question like if it's good or if it's bad. It's just like constantly liking things without having a criteria. I think that's a big problem, right? Just liking for liking because my friend did, instead of like asking yourself. But the biggest problem here is that people want to be other people. It's like, I want to be like this and this. I want this people job. I'm like, these people have a job and it's not going to die. You better be yourself and better draw the way you want and find a job for yourself, because you're not gonna make them quit. Like, this is not gonna happen. And by drawing like them, it's not gonna make them like you. It's just gonna make them feel like you're copying them. And the whole like thing that you're trying to achieve, it's just you're boycotting yourself. This is not working.
Definitely, I see a lot of that as well, and yeah, it's hard because I just say like this person is not going to die anytime soon, and
Anytime soon, they're
i
really young.
yeah, and even if they do, it's not like you just can put their skin on
Yeah.
and like, oh, here I am to do the work this guy was doing. Like, that's not gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. That, and also like the whole like system. I mean, there's people that have like 1,000 million likes. Fine. Fine. Ask yourself who is liking it, and then just also be an artist and be like willing to improve, not just do the same over and over. Because that's just gonna attract that many people, and then maybe half of the people that like your work is 12, which is nothing wrong, but that's not necessarily gonna bring you a job anytime soon. So if you question yourself and you push yourself, you're gonna start doing new stuff, and eventually people is gonna see it, and you're gonna land on that job you want. But if you just keep doing the same thing just to get that many likes, I mean, that's not really being an artist, isn't it?
Actually, talking with some people who have worked again, like Pixar, Disney, things like that, they told me about the experience of pretty much the studios bringing this guy who was like really famous on internet, social media and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and because they were doing like what it looked like amazing art online,
Mm-hmm.
But once they came into the studio and they had to deal
Do
with
it.
this kind of always modifying challenges and coming from different angles and having to deal with different styles and problems and perspectives and such, they fall short because they only knew how to do the same stuff over and over. And
Yep.
once they had to do something completely different, like they couldn't do it. So
Yep.
all this fame online, all these likes, all the people like worship depend on dying did not help them at all. Obviously, they got fired.
Yeah.
And
It's a curtain of smoke.
yeah, and yeah, there. I think the problem happened that there was a couple of artists who actually were good online, because they become famous online and
Right.
they were hired, but they were actually good artists. Like they could do a lot of stuff,
Right.
and that's not. However, it is really difficult to find that online as well. Like to really realize, like, is this guy somebody who is well rounded, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I find it myself that through my art careers, I just realize there's two kind of people. The people that are like draftmen, that they have like really good skills and they learn techniques and they know their brushes on Photoshop and they can mimic everybody's style. And the people that are like artists and creators, the people that want to explore, innovate, like learn and push themselves really hard. And it's all right, it depending the job that you want to do. If you want to be an art director one day, well, you shouldn't be only a draftsman, you should be an artist and a creator as well. You should have a voice, right? If you just want to work for like, licensing, would you just repeat the same drawing that somebody else created, then it's okay to be a draftsman. If you just want to work for a TV show that it's been like 100 years on TV and there's nothing to be created, but you're really good at that one thing, that's the job for you. And then it's okay to be a draftman, and then it's, you should be very proud. But if you're aiming for something else, then you should just realize how much you could be, right?
Definitely. Also, on the topic of working in this kind of projects, which is usually made by a whole team because they are
Yeah,
hard to
yeah,
do.
that's the other thing. Like no
Uh,
medals of honor.
yeah, I met some people who are like very individualistic or egocentric with their art, and maybe they are really good, but they do not work well in a team, and that's completely
Right.
hurts them. And I have found this topic of many big, really big people deciding to go for decent talent, but that they can work really good in a team,
Yep.
than going for the real high talent that doesn't work at all in a team. Uh,
Yep.
have you find this in your career as well?
Yeah, I found it actually, like I found it in my career, but I also found it like, I mean, I used to teach in a university here in Burbank, and I found it like since really early on, like even students that like happen to be like better than the other students to begin with, the ego grows so much and you're like, but why? Like, we're all artists, like we die and we still have one more thing to learn, right? We'll never know everything, we'll always be improving. Like, why do you think you know everything already? Why do you think you're so good? Like, you're super young. Gosh, if I know everything at that age, I'd be so bored, I will probably quit and do something else. So I just don't understand where that came from. I don't understand that attitude. But the way I don't understand it, it doesn't work well in groups either. And I think being like a very hard worker and being humble brings you further than being like a superstar that doesn't want to hear people's opinion, because you're going to be working on a team. And it's not about you anymore. It's about this project that doesn't even belong to you, it belongs to somebody else. And you have to put the best of you. And that's a hard lesson to learn for a lot of people, I think.
Definitely. Also, uh, this is a real hard question that I like to ask in most interviews, which is, let's say that you wake up in a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows about you. but
Nobody
you
knows about me anyways.
but you have all your skill, all your experience, you have $500, and you have your art tools. What do you do to get at this point in your career as soon as possible?
I think I'll go on a library. I read a lot of books, and I'm saying library, so you don't have to pay for the book, so you still save this $500. Then you read as much as you can, then you draw everybody around you, then you probably go somewhere nice to eat, like something good that you really like, because I find food is very inspiring for me. Like, I really like food. So you just go there, you have yourself a really good meal, then you go home, and then watch a very inspiring movie, and then like try to take notes and understand like what do you like, what you don't like, and then buy a bunch of beers or wherever you like to drink at night and just be creative. Maybe have some friends over, and then imagine you could make this great story and just start a project and put all your effort in that, and just let people know what you're doing so they can give you feedback, and then you can move on and make something great. And I think that's what I will do for sure.
Awesome. Also, we found your portfolio through CTNX last year, which was our first event, and it was so overwhelming for us that at the end we just took a lot of notes. We took them in the book, and it's like, okay, we have to check all this later because right now our brain is melting away. But I wanted to ask you, especially since you came from a place that you didn't like to go to events and things like that, what will be your tips in order to go to an event and make the best out of it?
Well, I will say the first thing, it sounds funny, but just actually go to the event. A lot of people want to go, but they don't go and buy the ticket, but they don't show up. I think showing up is a big part of it. I recommend, at least how I did, like I always do the way I approach like a new convention coming up. I just go as a viewer, and I just take notes, like what I like, what I don't like, how I feel with people, if it was friendly, what I do better, right? And then stuff that I bought, why I bought it, and I just analyze all of that. And then I plan ahead for like a year in advance, right? If I want to enroll myself in selling the convention, and then I try to make sure I have stuff that, you know, is like what people is selling, but also stuff that's a little bit different, so you give an option. Just have your materials ready, like decide if you're going to print online, don't do it last minute, because there's a lot of problems. If you're going to print at home, print it ahead of time too, because, you know, there's many things with printers. You all know when you have to print, they always break, right? So that happens. And then very important to bring business cards. As funny as it is, like a lot of people forget. And I find it really nice and useful when you actually bring, like, you know, like a little drawing or something. The first year I did that too, like postcards of my work. And then when I talk to people, I approach them, I will give it to them so they remember me. But it was a way to say thank you for their time too, you know. I don't just assume people is going to talk to me just because I'm there. So I think that's very important, just to be mindful of the other people's time and value it. Don't be like, well, I'm showing you my portfolio, so, you know, you gotta be watching and giving me tips about it. Well, you can be nice about it. And I find overall, like, if you don't know, ask. Everybody's gonna wanna help you, and then ask around in like forums, communities, like friends that have done the same. Everybody's really willing to share the information. Like, I never heard like, no, I'm not gonna tell you what. So that, and just have a little bit of a like a schedule and plan ahead. I think that will be it.
Nice. Also, is there any advice that you would like to give people who want to become an artist that we haven't talked about into this interview?
Well, if it's not being obvious, the whole like draw every day and be aware that you're gonna have to repeat your drawings many times until they look good, and that they look good to you doesn't mean it's good. That's one. And then the other, honestly, like, stay away from online stuff. Just read, find a photographer that you like, go to a museum. I know everybody says the whole museum thing, but it's worth it. Or like to a coffee shop, or just have a good walk. Have some time with yourself and learn what is it that you like about art, and what is it that you want to tell to the world that's unique on you. And I think that's kind of, when I like people, that's when I try to find. And there's nothing that bothers me more than people that just like do the same thing over and over, even if that's what you want to tell. Like, so what? You only have one conversation topic? This is, you know, we can talk about many other things. So yeah, just that I will say.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for giving us your time and being here, and obviously giving us your knowledge as well. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking me. I mean, this has been great. I was really shy in the beginning, but I hope you did well. Thank you.
It is really great. Now, if people want to find you and your work online, where will be the best place to do so?
So our website is glowinthedark.studio. So just going there, and it should be like a link for our email. Like that will be like anytime you have questions. I mean, I'm super approachable, I hope, or I try. Sometimes I get a lot of emails, but I promise I answer like whenever I have some time. So yeah, that will be like probably the best way to contact.
Nice. Thank you for being here again. Thank you for everything that you have given us to us into this interview.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everything.
So this has been the last episode of the Creative Hustler Show. If you like it, please click the like button below and also share these interviews with your friends. And now you can find all our interviews into iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Alexa Echo, everywhere you want, pretty much. So until next time.